Today, in my solo episode, I'm really excited to unpack one of my favorite topics in the career space, which is interviewing. Interviewing is ultimately what will land you the job. Your resume you can fix up, your LinkedIn, you can do all the right things. Once you get that foot in the door to talk to the employer, this now is the space and how to land the job. So I'm going to break down the STAR method for you all. The STAR method is this buzzword out there. It's a method that a lot of big companies utilize to really listen to the candidate. Candidates are often really overwhelmed with this concept. A lot of people in my community on LinkedIn, clients that come to me and really don't know where to start with interviewing. I'm going to break down interviewing in multiple parts, but this is part one of just understanding the general method of responding and prepping yourself for interviews. And that is, again, using the STAR method. The STAR method itself, you want to think of it as a framework with two bookends on it. The purpose of it is to help you wrap your answers in a much prettier story. If you don't follow some type of step-by-step, you will get lost in your answers. You will trail off and ramble, or on the other side of things, you just might not go deep enough to share those results and important data points that are needed to land that job. So it is really important that you mentally put in place a framework. STAR method stands for STAR, which is the situation. The T is the actual task. What were you responsible for? The actions, obviously what you did, and the result. What happened? I'm going to break down each one of these a little more for you. And I'll give an example throughout. A lot of my community members or people that work with me are in marketing and digital. So I'll probably lean into that example, but you can really utilize this, of course, for any function. The important thing with STAR method that you want to keep in mind, STAR method is like a big umbrella for each answer. And under that umbrella, you're going to tell a quick story or snippet as it's related to the role itself. One of the biggest takeaways I hear from people that are just not doing well in interviews is that they're approaching the interview with an kind of all the above approach. And actually, each interview, each company, you should be approaching differently. You might have a different story to tell, or a different angle, or a different value to share that relates back to the company. So every new opportunity you're interviewing for, this is just high level beyond STAR method, you want to sit down and prepare and really look at what that company values for its competencies, what they value as a company, what they value as people. And you often can find this on the career site. This is really important because then you want to come to your interview with that specific angle and keeping those values in the back of your mind. I'll give you an example. Amazon, one of the biggest companies in the world, really values customer centricity. So if I know that in the back of my head, regardless of the job, I am going to come to that interview with that angle in mind, keeping customer centricity at the forefront. Another example is a lot of companies really value entrepreneurial spirit. And what entrepreneurial spirit means is that you are able to deal with ambiguity. And when I was at L'Oreal, this is one of the main questions we always asked, especially in the beauty space, in the startup space, in the tech space. These are very innovative sectors across different industries, but they value something quite similar, which is, again, that entrepreneurial spirit. So those are a few examples. Again, depending on the area you're interviewing for, you want to go into your interview prepared with what does the company value and what do they really look for in employees. So that's the first piece of it. Know what the company values and how they are looking at candidates. When I think of the STAR method, let's break it apart a little bit more. Let's start with the first step, which is the situation. The situation is giving a quick snapshot of what the scene looks like. If you ever have been in a play, or if you've gone to a Broadway show, or if you've just watched a series on TV, we are all watching things these days. This is before anyone is speaking what is kind of happening. It's the scene itself. And what this might look like in your interview is you might say, in my last role, we had a last minute product campaign that was launched and it had to go live in 5 days. So right then and there, I am setting the scene for my interviewer to really listen in on what was going on at the time. So, other things you can describe: the environment. Was it fast paced? Was it really changing? Were you up against the clock of a deadline? How many people were involved? What was the product launch? Bring them behind the scenes a little bit as to what was happening during that scene itself. Another example, you might say, my manager, was out on leave and I had to step in for several months to manage the, even double the campaigns. Something like that. You're giving a little behind the scenes of what was happening. So the second piece of your answer, which is really important, is the task itself. What were you responsible for? And what was the goal or what was the challenge you were facing ahead? So now you're still telling that story, you're moving forward, and you're talking about kind of the road ahead. What was happening in that moment? And this is where you want to share what you were doing. What was the challenge? So you might say something like, I was responsible for managing cross-functional campaign approvals and really getting the campaign launched so that we can, and then this is how you relate it back to the goal so that you could talk about your SKU growth or whatever that connection is to the goal. So you want to share a little bit more here. The task itself and the next one is going to be the longest piece of your answer. So be sure to go into a little more detail about what was the task, what was happening. The second step is action. Now here's your chance to shine because you're going to really say, like, what did you do as a manager? Did you set up a project plan within a day? Did you set up immediate check-ins with the media team, with the content team, with the e-retail team? Again, I'm giving marketing examples, but you can insert your own functions or role for this. And then how did you keep everything going? Were you checking in through Slack and Asana? What were you doing? What were the actions happening? Did something go wrong? So the two pieces of the STAR method that, if I can emphasize, are most important for your answer, it's really what you were doing. If I could share anything, you want to make sure that that answer really relates to the job in the company. If you are giving a specific example that is not at all transferable to the role itself, you're missing the mark. And this is another big piece that I see a lot of candidates missing, is like giving an example that is not at all transferable. And they're rambling on about an answer that they really should have used another example. So when you're talking through that task and action, again, make sure this is very transferable. The ending bookend of the STAR method is simple. It's the result. What happened? Are you still in it? Did something go horribly wrong? And that's okay. And what did you learn from it? Did you see growth in the campaign? Did you see revenue adjustments? Or what was that for you? So overall, again, you really want to walk through a story. Everything I just broke down here relates to one specific answer. It is not throughout your interview. You're going to use the STAR method every time. And while I was walking through this in about 10 minutes, your answers are going to be much more brief. And they're going to be focused again on that one story around that question. So it's not scary. Do not get so overwhelmed that you are wrapped up in what the STAR method means. It's really a framework, as I said, to help you move forward in your answers, deliver a story, and be concise. I love interviewing, and if I can give any last piece of advice here, it is make sure you prepare yourself with the most transferable, interesting stories for your interview. If you are showing up and winging it, and not sure what the company values, not even sure on the role itself, again, make sure, and this will probably be a part 2 of the preparation, make sure you are looking at the job description for those transferable skills and keywords. Because if you're not, I can't even tell you how many times I've had interviews and some candidates are just really missing the mark on what they're interviewing for. And it's a really quick, simple, few-minute research to, again, look at the company, look at what they value, look at how they assess candidates. And again, this information is out there between everything we have access to nowadays. Even if it's a smaller company, you might find some information on it based on their careers website, Instagram, or TikTok. So always be sure to do a quick research review before you jump in on any interview. And lastly, be yourself. That is so important. We are in the virtual world now, and it can feel a little isolating when you're interviewing behind a screen. But as I'm sitting here with you today, just as I'm talking on a podcast, that's the energy you want to bring to your interview to really show that you're interested and energetic about the job. Your energy says a lot in an interview. So don't leave that at the door, and make sure you bring your personality. Good luck on your interview, and I can't wait to talk further about interviews in the next episodes.